Hi everyone, this is Adam DeMott from ForTechSupport, and in this tutorial you'll learn how to use Microsoft Excel as an RSS feed reader that is updated by a Power Automate flow with 3 scopes, one that checks for any new feeds you've added since the last time the flow ran, and adds posts from those feeds to another table in Excel. Another scope checks for existing feeds for any new posts that were made since the last time the flow ran and adds those to the same table. And then the third scope moves any content that you've marked saved from that table to a third final saved table. Finally, we'll use Office scripts in Excel and at the end of the flow to sort the tables and remove any duplicate rows. The columns labeled Category, Subcategory, and Topic can be used to keep the posts categorized for easy review when looking at new posts or when searching through the posts that you've already saved. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with this tutorial. For the first step, we need to create our tables in Excel. Alternatively, you can download a copy, a template of this bookmarks Excel file with the tables already created from my blog article. If you want to create the file on your own, you can follow along with these next few steps. So you can, if you're following along with the article also, you can copy these values into Excel, into each sheet that we're going to create. So go ahead and open Excel. Create a blank workbook and create 3 sheets on there. Name the first one Feeds, second one News, and the third one Saved. Go back to the first sheet again, and we're going to paste these values first, and these values second under News, and the third values we're going to paste under Saved. Now once we have those values, go back to Feeds, and we're going to turn that into a table by going to the Data tab in the ribbon, clicking on Text to Columns, clicking Next, changing tab to comma, clicking Finish, selecting those cells, going back to the Home tab and turning that into a table. You can select any one of these styles. Make sure you select My Table as Headers and click OK. Once it turns into a table, name it the same as the sheet. So we're going to call the table Feeds in that one. Once we go over to News, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to turn that into a table. It's already on comma. And we're going to call that one News. And the final one, we're going to go to Saved, Data, Text to Columns, and we'll call this final table Saved. So we should have 3 tables there now. Once you have those, you can save this file to your OneDrive. I already have this saved to my OneDrive, so I'm just going to close out of this. Once you see that it's synced to your OneDrive account, go ahead and right-click the file and View Online. That'll open up in a web browser in Excel on the web. And you can see in my file here, I've got some sample feeds for this tutorial. I've also let it run this morning and a little bit last night, so it can collect new posts since basically, well, looks like 3:30 yesterday was the latest one, or the oldest one. The latest one was from this morning at 6:30, or sorry, 7:45. Even, yeah, because it runs hourly, so this should be running right now as we're speaking. But I don't have the flow running to this yet, so we won't see anything new show up here yet. Once you see that it's been created, we're going to go up to the Automate tab, and we're going to create 3 Office scripts. You can see I've already created them up here, so I'm going to go into All Scripts and show you how that's done. Once you're in All Scripts, you can click on Record Actions here, and you can basically take whatever actions you need. I chose to sort the tables in a specific way. Sort the title first, then the source, then the topic, subcategory, category, and then the type of media. So it's always sorted nice and neat. It's going to remove any duplicates also, because we're going to go over to the data tab, remove duplicates, and click OK. And you can see that's been added to this set of actions as well. Once we've removed the duplicates, we can click stop. This is for the news table. So when we click stop, we'll see it says script and a number, script 1 here. We can click here to rename it. You can name this one sort news. I've already have that, so I'm not going to save that one. But I'm going to show you that I have multiple scripts here. So I don't need this one. I'm going to delete that. But what you want to do is do what I just showed you for the news table. Do the same thing for feeds and save those as sort saved and sort feeds accordingly. Once you have those Office scripts created, we can move on to creating the Power Automate flow. So click Scheduled Cloud Flow to begin. We're going to call this one Bookmarks. I'm just going to add a demo to the front of this because I already have one called Bookmarks. You can set this to whatever time you want it to start running. I'm just going to leave that at 10 and set this to 1 hour. So this flow will run every hour. Click Create. Once it loads, we're going to expand the trigger, which will be named Recurrence. It'll take just a minute. Alright, so expand that, click on Show Advanced Options and set your time zone, wherever your local time zone is. I'm in the Pacific time, so I'm going to set that one. If you don't want this flow to begin right away, you can set this to run at a specific time also by changing the date or time here. It's in UTC, so just be aware of that. Let's go ahead and collapse that. First thing we're going to do underneath there is create a new step using a scope. And we're going to name this first scope New Feeds. Within that scope, we're going to create an action using the get past time. And we are actually going to change this name because we're going to have 2 of these. We're going to change this so we know which one's which. Get past time for items on new feeds. For the interval, you can set this to however far you want to go back on these new feeds that you had. So basically anytime you add a new feed, you sometimes might want to go further back than just an hour. So for this one, I'm just going to say 60 months, so 5 years. So change this to months. And you can have that different if you want. Just be aware that's what it does. It's going to search the new feeds for any content that goes back that far. Go ahead and collapse that one. Underneath there, in the same scope, we're going to create another step. So add an action. This one will use the list rows present in a table. Go ahead and select the location and library where you saved the bookmarks file. So OneDrive, bookmarks, and we're going to list the rows present in the new feeds table. So go to feeds, and to get just the new feeds, we're actually going to go to the advanced options, and we're going to use a filter query where new is equal to quotes new, single quotes new. And then we're going to change the name of this step, this action, to get new feeds, so we know which one we're getting it from. Underneath that step, we're going to create a new step using list RSS. So list all RSS feed items on new feed. So let's make sure we specify that. For the URL, we're going to select the feed from that action, get new feeds. So select that one. You'll see an apply to each is added. We're just going to rename that to apply to each new feed. Go back into this action for the RSS, and in the since field, we're going to select the past time for get past time for items on new feeds. And you can leave the publish date set there. Underneath that, we're going to add a row. So add a row into a new table for Excel. We're going to call this one add item from new feed to news table. And we're going to do the same thing. Select the same location where you saved that file. It's all in the same file, so we're always going to select the same path. And then for this one, we're going to select the news table. So whatever content it collects from the RSS feeds, it'll add to the news table. And then we're going to specify which fields that we want it to fill in also. So for the title, we're going to select the feed title from the RSS feed, and a new apply to each will be added there. We can just call that apply to each item from new feed. Let's go back into this action again. In media, we're just going to select the media from the get new feeds action. So it's going to match whatever's in there. The link, we're going to choose the primary feed link from RSS. The source, we're going to select the title from the get new feeds. So whatever the title of the feed is will go into the source of the item from the feed. Category, subcategory, and topic will all match whatever's in the get new feeds. Notes, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to select notes. And then for save, we're going to leave empty. For date and time, we're going to use expressions, and you can copy these from my blog article as well. But we're going to convert from UTC to whatever your local time is. So if your local time is not Pacific, you want to change the what's in between the single quotes in these expressions as well. Everything else you can leave the same as long as you named your steps the same as I am naming them in this tutorial. So for the date, we're going to go to date, click on expression, and you can paste this one in there. Oop, I'm sorry, let's go back. Paste that, and then do the same thing for time. Paste that expression into the time, and when you hover over them, you'll see that they're slightly different. At the end of it, it shows month, month, day, day, year, 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 and this one will just show the hour, minutes, and whether it's AM or PM. And then underneath there, we're going to create a new action right here. And for this one, we're going to use the update a row. We're going to call this one clear the cell in the new column. So we're just basically going to make that field null after all the content from the new feeds have been collected. That way it doesn't do it again the next time the flow runs. So for this one, we're going to select the feed table, feeds table, sorry. For the key column, we're going to select the feed. And then for the key value, we're going to select the feed from the get new feeds action, or I'm sorry, from the yes, from the get new feeds action. That's right. Let's see here. So it should look like that. And then all we're going to do for this one is go down to new, go to expression, type in string, parentheses, and type in null. Click OK. And at this point, let's go ahead and save the flow. We've got the first scope finished. We can go back up here and collapse this. The next step we're going to take is create a new scope in parallel to the new feed. So we're going to click on the plus sign right below the recurrence and click on parallel branch. Create a scope and call this one new content. And we're going to add a get pastime again. Let's specify that we're getting the pastime for items on existing feeds this time. And we're only going to go back as far back as the recurrence is. So we want, if this is running hourly, we want this to match that. If you run this every 2 hours, you want this to be every 2 hours. That way it's not collecting duplicate content. It really doesn't matter because the content will, any duplicates will be removed, but it'll just be cleaner if you match these two values. We're basically going to follow the same steps as we did under here other than adding the new feeds. So for the first step, we're going to specify in the filter query that the new column does not equal new. So let's go ahead and create a list row present. And we're going to look in the feeds table, go into advanced options, and we can actually rename this step also, get existing feeds. And in the filter query, we're going to type in new NE and then the word new in single quotes, like that. Underneath that, we're going to do a list RSS feeds. Let's call this one list all RSS feed items on existing feed. And then in the RSS feed URL, we're going to select the feed from get existing feeds. Rename that apply to each to apply to each existing feed. And select the pastime from get pastime for items on existing feeds. We're going to add a row for all the content collected. So add a row into a table for Excel. Add item from existing feed to news table is what we'll call it. And we're going to select news. And once that expands, we're going to go ahead and fill these fields in also. So for the first one, feed title, we're going to select the feed title from get existing feeds and apply to each. Oh, actually, no, and apply to each is not added this time. We've already got that here. Media. Oh, I'm sorry, I selected the wrong one, that's why. There will be an apply to each added. Give me one sec. I needed to select the feed title in this one. There we go. So this one we're going to call apply to each item from existing feed. For the media, we're going to select media from get existing feeds. Link, we're going to select the primary feed link from the RSS. Source, we're going to select the title from get existing feeds. Category, subcategory, and topic, we're going to match from get existing feeds. Same thing with notes. And then we're going to use those same expressions as we did before in date and time field. So it should look like that for the date and that for the time, just like the other ones did. Underneath that, we should be all set actually with that scope. So let's go ahead and go back up here, collapse that one and save this. Then we can create the third scope, which will be called saved content. We're going to do it the same way. Under recurrence, click parallel branch, look for scope, and call that one saved content. We're going to add a row into a table, or I'm sorry, get the content first. So list rows present just like the other ones. And we're going to list the rows present in the news table. So let's call this step get content mark save. And then go into advanced options and let's set the filter query here to save equals save in single quotes. Under that, we're going to create a row on the save table, so we're going to add a row. Into a table in Excel. Call this one create row on saved table. Select the save table. Once that expands, we can go ahead and start filling that out. So for all of these, they're just going to match up exactly with what's in get content mark saved. So title will be title. You'll see an apply to each will be added there. We're going to call this one apply to each row mark saved. And go back in here and finish filling out all those fields by matching them with the dynamic content. So it should look like that. Underneath that, directly underneath, we're going to delete the row from the news table that we just created on the save table. So go ahead and delete a row from Excel. And we'll call this one delete row from news table. select the news table. In the key column, we're going to select link. And in the key value, we're going to select link from create row on save table. So link here. So this scope is finished now. Let's go ahead and click save. The final scope that we're going to create is going to be down at the bottom, so click new step. Type in scope. We're going to call this one sort tables. And we're going to use the action run script for Excel. And one easy way to streamline this is you can copy it right up here. Add new action, click on my clipboard, and you can add new actions by just duplicating them. We're going to create 3 of those total. And we're going to call them sort feeds table, sort news table, and sort saved table. Go ahead and expand those. And go ahead and select your file again. And just so you don't have to keep drilling down to the path, you can actually copy and paste that. So once you select your OneDrive, you can just paste that in there. And just click off to the side. Same thing here, OneDrive, paste off to the side. And then for each of these, just make sure you select the script that matches the step. So sort feeds, sort news, and sort saved. And up here, on the scope sort tables, we're going to click these dots and configure run after. And we want to select each one of these and whether it's succeeded or failed, because sometimes the RSS feeds will fail, but we don't want the flow to fail. So we're going to make sure that it will sort the tables no matter what. And that will make sure that the flow succeeds. So sorry, this is a little confusing. You actually have to deselect and select them. Once it says succeeded and failed on both of these, for all 3 of the table or scopes, click done, and then click save. And we should be all set to test it at this point. Before we test the flow, let's go ahead and go back to our Excel file. You can go ahead and populate your feeds if you haven't already done that. I've already got some feeds in here, and for this tutorial, for the test, I'm going to show you how each of the scopes will work. So I added new in this column here for a few of these feeds, even though they were already on here. So those ones will go back however far you set that. For my flow, it'll be 60 months. All the other ones that don't say new will just go back 1 hour to look for posts. Under news, I marked a few of these save. So these ones will be deleted or copied to the saved table on this sheet and then removed from this table. So let's go back to feeds. And then after each of these is checked for older posts, this cell will be cleared from each of these. Finally, the tables will be sorted and any duplicates will be removed from them. So and you can go ahead and click the test button up here. Select manually and then click test down at the bottom and then run the flow. Click done and you'll see it refresh and each of the steps will start to go through the flow. So we can go over here first. This one will probably finish first. So it already got the content mark saved. It found 5 and it's already finished that scope. So I don't know which one will finish first, but what I'm going to do is I'll let this flow run, and once it's finished I'll pick up the video and we can continue with the review of each step. Alright, looks like it took about a minute for the new content to get collected from any posts that were published in the past hour to any of our feeds. So the final scope will be, oh, that one just finished too. So they all went pretty quick. Now that all 3 of those are done, it's going to start this scope because we configured a run after. And this one will only take a minute or so to sort those tables. And then once that scope finishes, the flow will finish, and we can review each step to check for errors. It doesn't look like there were any errors in this particular flow, but you might run into them sometimes. It's usually when the RSS feed goes offline for a bit. Alright, that finished. So we got the green check mark here. If you go back one, you can see the run history also. It took 2 minutes and 13 seconds to run. And let's go back in there. And if you click on each step, you can actually check to see what happened. So we can go here, and it runs every hour. This is the start time, that's the time zone. Over here, you can see that it got past time, 60 months, which would be from today's date back 5 years. Over here, it only went back an hour, so an hour from today. Down here, if you go to show more, you can see that it filtered out when it's equal to or not equal to. And then same thing, you can go through each one of these steps to review them. They all went successfully. Same here. Now we can go back to our spreadsheet, and you can see all the rows that were marked new in the new column are now cleared. If we go over to news, there are no more rows marked save, and those ones that we did mark save were moved over here. Everything remains the same source, category, subcategory, topic, date and time. So anything you save will go in here, and you can, sort by filtering, searching, however you need to later on, and use this as any new content. And as you go through here, you can, anytime it updates, you can review the content, delete the rows you don't want, and then type in save next to the rows you do want. It's as easy as that. That's all I have for this tutorial. I'll be back again next week with a new one. Alright, until next time, take care.